Goeienaand, good evening, fellow South Africans and citizens of the world. And, well, the rough and tumble of justice in South Africa. What a joke. This is unverified, but I'm going to read to you what Professor J.P. Malangu said in a tweet to start off this particular video. He said, reliably informed that Chief Justice Mogoeng was forcefully instructed to sign the warrant of arrest of Jacob Zuma, but he refused. When he was pressured to sign, he decided to take leave from work. Justice Sisi Kampepe is now acting as the Chief Justice. Now, I don't know what the facts are behind this case, but that is a tweet that this professor has sent out. So let's talk about Jacob Zuma, the ex-president, the man who was right in the middle of state capture with the Guptas, the man who has clearly made a lot of money through backhanders and basically shown the road for the ANC, which is now just a gangster, corrupt organization. It's not a political party. It's a bunch of gangsters. Well, this is the latest on Jacob Zuma at his Nkandla homestead. He is no messiah, that's for sure, but the sorrowful way must be traversed by former President Jacob Zuma. He won't spend a single day in jail, of that I'm certain, but he must subject himself to the walk of shame. We South Africans have to mock him and remind him of his vile deeds between 2009 and 2018. This we must be allowed to do, not because we hate Zuma, no. It's because it'll be good for our collective psyche as a people. If a former head of state attempts to undermine our hard-fought, hard-earned democracy, trample on our constitution, and spit in the face of our judiciary, then we must make an example of him and his cohorts. And if Zuma feels he has been left out to dry by his comrades, well, he brought this upon himself. He became drunk with executive power, making sure he appointed the most incompetent of individuals in very senior positions in the state. These are not my sentiments, but the rulings of our courts in respect to Tom Mayani, Dudu Myeni, Sean Abrahams, Nomgoko Jiba, Lawrence Mwebi, and many others. Allowing a single family to run our country from their home in Saxonwold, determining who should or should not be in the executive branch of our government, allowing them to violate protocols and land a passenger aeroplane at a military base, ruining our economy further, and just for good measure, slapping us with a free higher education expense, literally giving us a middle finger in the process. Today we suffer the consequences of this illogical decision, which we simply cannot afford. Then he sits at his Nkandla home, reflecting, resenting, collecting his thoughts and his anger, so as to spin a narrative that he is the victim, and all of us are out to get him. How pathetic. He must be shown that no one is above the law. No one. And we simply must hold him accountable for allowing state capture under his stewardship of the country. Zuma might want to deny the existence of state capture. He might even want to miraculously suggest that his family and he have not benefited from corrupt practices. But the fact of the matter is the country is in a far worse state after his tenure at the helm, as the Zondo Commission lays bare daily. The most likely ruling from our constitutional court in the matter of Zuma versus Concourt is indeed a suspended sentence with a fine and perhaps a slap on the wrist stating, "Don't do it again." And if the court should rule that Zuma must spend some time in jail, President Cyril Ramaphosa will almost immediately issue him with a presidential pardon, as he should. This way the former president can save face as he walks the path of shame. I know that's not what many of you want to hear, but alas, as a former president of the Republic of the governing ANC, I do think we must read the mood of the majority in our country on this one. The chattering classes might want to see Zuma in prison, but people on the ground have always identified with him as a victim. We saw this after Thabo Mbeki released Zuma from his duties back in 2005. We saw it again when Zuma was accused of rape and countless other times. They agree with some measure of sanction, of course, but prison, no. When I engage some, they will remind me of P.W. Botha and how he did not go to jail for his transgressions. They talk of the many apartheid ministers that simply walked free after heinous crimes against our people. Unfair, I hear you say, but this is the sentiment of some people. We might not agree with them, but this is what they are saying. I remember a time when I objected to the building of a Kansla, and many people asked me, "Where do you want the president to live? In a tin zinc house?" While many wealthy white people live in mansions. I admit at the time I was shocked by this logic and argument, but alas, this is what our people thought. Even when Zuma doesn't want to admit wrongdoing or doesn't want to apologize to us as citizens, he must experience this catharsis of shaming for his own sake too. And to put a final nail in the coffin, so to speak, we might also agree not to give him a full statement as a former president of South Africa. That would complete the shame. Why, you might ask, are we so hell-bent on punishing him? Well, it's as I've stated above. An example must be made. The sort of thing must never be allowed to happen again, and especially not from the highest office in the land. We have had many honourable presidents of the ANC and of the country. They may not have been perfect individuals, but they remained true to their calling of wanting to free all South Africans from the bondage of apartheid and to be better in their lives as South Africans. Not one of them ever enriched themselves or their families at the expense of our people, not in the manner that Zuma has done. That's why he must be subjected to the wall of shame. We will, however, not send Zuma to prison. I think it's only fair to say that we're not doing this because of stupid, empty threats of war coming from the shores of Dubai. No, sir. I'm sure Duduzane can be forgiven for not having a full appreciation of the trauma, killing, and murders suffered by so many of our countrymen and women during the dark days of apartheid. Duduzane would have no clue about the so-called black-on-black violence we all had to endure on a daily basis. Women and children all experiencing a daily hell of bullets flying overhead, lying on the floor of their houses, praying one does not ricochet and kill one of them. You would have no idea of any of this, and yet you make empty threats of war. Be a little more circumspect, young man. It's been a long walk for Zuma, fighting to stay out of our courts for more than a decade. Well, almost. It is time this sordid affair goes away once and for all. Your shame will not end with a crucifixion, as many want, but it must be recorded in the annals of history that your walk down the Via Dolorosa was necessary for us all. It is preoccupying us when we have far more critical and important matters at hand, like fixing our economy and tackling the triple challenges of unemployment, inequality, and poverty. Take the walk of shame and get it over with, Mr. Zuma. Have your Gethsemane moment so we may all heal going forward. Well, that's an opinion, but I think the interesting point that is raised there is the fact that despite this man, Jacob Zuma, clearly being guilty and should serve time behind bars, it looks like he's above the law. Remember what I said at the very start about the Chief Justice? That's South Africa. Please remember to subscribe to Loving Life to be kept informed. Please remember to register on lovinglifetv.com, where we're transitioning to. Please like this video, please share this video, and above all, please stay safe. Bye for now.